We live in a world where sounds never cease. The city's noise, the brisk pace of our days, the avalanche of information all swirl together in an endless stream that accompanies us everywhere. In this crowded landscape, silence sometimes feels like a luxury, at other times a void, or even a peculiar oddity. Yet, silence remains one of the oldest forms of support we possess. A discreet presence, ever there, even if we no longer acknowledge it. This series invites you to rediscover silence, not as a technique, not as an exercise, not as a quick fix, but as a simple space where we can return to ourselves. A space where things settle, where the rhythm calms, where thoughts clear effortlessly. Together we will explore how silence can transform the ordinary moments of our day, how it can bring clarity amidst chaos, how it can foster a sense of inner stability, how it can pave the way to simplicity, presence, and a gentler way of living. We are not seeking perfection. We are not seeking control. We are simply looking for a place where we can breathe more freely. Silence is not an escape from the world. It is a return. Before the first word was ever spoken, there was silence, not as absence, not as emptiness, but as a dense, calm, profound presence. Silence did not follow sound. No, sound was born from silence. Before language, before thought, before fear, the world was steeped in a tranquility that demanded nothing. It did not explain, it did not judge, it did not rush. The philosophy of silence begins here, in this original space where existence did not need to justify itself with words. For the modern person, silence seems strange, sometimes threatening, other times uncomfortable. But for the early human, silence was the natural environment of being. There was no need to fill every moment with sound. There was no fear of being alone with oneself. Silence was where the world breathed. In this silent space, thought was not yet separate from nature. Humanity did not feel torn from the sky, the earth, or the night. Everything was a single flow, a continuity without explanations. Only later did words emerge, an attempt to pin down reality, to control it, to name it. Yet with every word spoken, there was a small departure from silence. And the philosophy of silence begins with this simple question: what have we lost when we began to speak? Silence is not merely a backdrop to the world. It is the first space where consciousness learns to recognize itself. Before humanity understands what it sees, before it can name what it feels, there exists a suspended moment, an inner pause where reality gently settles. This moment is primordial silence. It is not an external hush. It is not the stillness of the forest or the night. Rather, it is an inner silence, a quiet that precedes any form of interpretation. It is the instant when the world enters us without yet being divided into good and evil, into beautiful and ugly, into danger and safety. In this silence, consciousness does not feel separate from what it perceives. There is no I observing and something being observed. Everything is a single flow, a single vibration, a single presence. As humanity has evolved, this original silence has begun to be covered by thoughts, by interpretations, by the stories the mind tells to feel in control. But somewhere deep within each of us, this silence has not vanished. It remains as a memory of a simpler, purer state, closer to the essence of existence. When we return to silence, we do not flee from the world. We return to the place from which we began. Silence is not merely the backdrop of existence. It is a subtle instrument through which our perception is shaped. In the absence of noise, the world does not grow poorer. No, it becomes clearer, more defined. In this stillness, the outlines of life emerge, details hidden beneath the clamour. A leaf dancing in the breeze, a shadow stretching across the ground, the gentle breath of your own being. These become visible only when silence grants them space. Perception is not only what we see or hear, it is how we position ourselves in this vast world. And silence, oh, it places us differently. It slows our pace, expands our awareness, allowing us to observe not just objects, but the distances that lie between them. Not just gestures, but the intentions behind them. Not just words, but all that remains unspoken. In silence, meaning is not forced upon us. It does not come from the outside. It is birthed from within, like a light slowly igniting, unhurried and gentle. Thus, silence is not merely a pause between sounds. It is a fertile space where thoughts take shape. Not the frantic, chaotic thoughts that clash against one another, but the profound ones that rise from the deep layers of our consciousness. When we perceive the world from this silence, we no longer view it as a foreign place. Instead, we feel it as an extension of ourselves, as if reality and our very being are breathing together. Identity is not born from words. Words come later, like labels we stick on something that already exists. Before we say, I am, there is a profound silence where our being feels without needing a name. This silence is the first space of identity, the place where meaning begins to form before it is spoken. In silence, we need not explain ourselves. We do not need to justify our existence. We are free from the pressure to create an image for others. Silence offers us a moment to simply be present, without masks, without roles, without the burden of proving anything. Here, in this inner space, meaning is not yet fragmented. It is not divided into desires, fears, ambitions, or memories. It is a fluid, organic sense, feeling more like a vibration than an idea. It is the very beginning of all that we will become. As we begin to speak, this vibration transforms into concepts, into definitions, into stories about who we believe we are. Yet, no matter how many words we add, the silence remains beneath it all, like a fundamental layer of our identity. When we return to silence, we return to this primal identity, to a self that needs no explanation, to a meaning that requires no demonstration, to an existence that is felt before it is described. Silence is not merely a place we retreat to. It is a sanctuary where we transform. In the stillness, the superficial layers of our minds begin to dissolve. The hurried thoughts extinguish, the restless emotions calm, and what remains is an inner space where transformation becomes possible. In noise, we react. In silence, we observe. This seemingly small difference changes everything. When we are no longer pushed by the rhythm of the world, we start to feel the rhythm of our own being, a rhythm that is slower, deeper, more authentic. Silence compels us to meet ourselves, not the image we present to the world, not the roles we play, but that part of us that cannot be hidden. In quietude, our inner truth surfaces, sometimes gently, at other times uncomfortably, but always, always necessary. Transformation does not begin with a decision. It doesn't start with a plan. It begins with a pause, a moment when we no longer flee from what we feel, a moment when we listen to what silence reveals to us. In this space, the old tensions slowly release, like dry leaves falling freely when autumn arrives, not through force but through maturation. Silence does not change us suddenly. It changes us gradually, profoundly, in the depths where words cannot reach. In the noise, the mind rushes. In silence, the mind sees. Clarity does not emerge when we accumulate more information. No, it arises when we eliminate what entangles us. Silence adds nothing, yet through this absence it reveals what was already there, hidden beneath layers of agitation. When we settle into stillness, our thoughts don't vanish, but they begin to organize. The superficial ones fade first, like tiny waves retreating from the shore. Only the deep ones remain, the ones that truly matter. Discernment is not an intellectual skill. It is a state where we can distinguish between what is essential and what is merely noise, between what belongs to us and what we've absorbed unknowingly, between what nourishes us and what consumes us. Silence offers us this state, not through effort, not through analysis, but simply through its presence. In quietude, truth becomes easier to recognize, not because it is shouted, but because it is no longer covered. Clarity does not strike like lightning. No, it comes as a light that slowly ignites without force, without demanding attention. A light that shows us the way, not through intensity, but through simplicity. Let this be your guide. Silence does not transport us to another world. No, it brings us back to this one. It returns us to the present moment, where life truly unfolds. In noise, our minds race ahead or retreat into the past. But in silence, oh, the mind comes back here. Presence is not a skill, it is not a technique, it is not an exercise. It is a natural state, one we've forgotten under the weight of modern life's rhythm. Silence reactivates it, it awakens it, it makes it accessible once more. When we are in silence, we stop chasing the next thing. We no longer replay the past. We cease projecting into the future. We settle into the moment that exists now, the only moment that has ever truly existed. In this state, we perceive differently. Our breath slows, our bodies relax. Thoughts become clear not because we control them, but because we no longer feed them with our attention. Silence does not battle the mind, it simply allows it to find peace. To be present means to feel life without interpretation, to observe without judgment, to simply be without needing to explain. It is a form of profound simplicity, a return to how existence was before words came into play. In silence, the present moment is no longer just an idea. It transforms into an experience, a living, open space where we can truly breathe. Silence does not isolate us from the world. It brings us closer to it. In quietude, the boundary between the inner and outer realms becomes thinner, more permeable, more fluid. We no longer perceive reality as something separate from us, but as an extension of our very own presence. When we find ourselves in silence, we do not merely listen to the world, we truly feel it. We sense the vibration of the air, the rhythm of light, the breath of the space around us. The world transforms from a mere backdrop into a partner in dialogue, a dialogue without words, yet rich with meaning. In noise, we react to the outside. In silence, we connect with it. This connection is not intellectual, nor is it merely emotional. It is existential. It embodies the feeling of belonging to a greater whole, of being woven into an invisible tapestry that links us to all that exists. Silence allows us to feel this bond. It enables us to perceive the world not just through our senses, but through a profound intuition. In stillness, we begin to understand that we are not just observers of reality, we are participants in it. Every breath we take is in dialogue with the breath of the world. Thus silence becomes a bridge, a passage, a space where the self and the world meet without contradiction. Take a moment to embrace this connection and breathe deeply into it. There exists within each of us an ancient silence, older than our names, older than the language we speak, even older than the stories humanity has told about itself. This is an ancestral silence, a memory from a time when existence was simple, when the world didn't need to be understood, but merely lived. This silence does not arise from education, nor from culture, nor from the experiences of modern life. It comes from the deepest layers of our being, from that part of us that existed before the mind became complicated. It is the silence of the first people, the silence of nights without fire, where tribes listened to the wind and felt their fear, yet also their belonging. In this ancestral silence, there is no separation between man and nature. There is no I and others. There is only a shared presence, a breath intertwined, a continuity between life and the environment that sustains it. When we step into silence, we do not take a step back in time, but rather a step back into ourselves. We return to that part of our being that has not forgotten where it comes from, to that profound memory that reminds us we are more than our roles, more than our thoughts, more than the story we tell the world. Silence connects us to this invisible root. It reminds us that, before everything, we were pure presence. As we approach the closing of this chapter, let us reflect on the essence of silence. It is not merely a philosophical notion, nor just an internal state, nor an ancestral memory. Silence, my friends, is the genesis of all beginnings. It is the space from which perception emerges, where identity is shaped and meaning takes root. When we return to silence, we are not making a spiritual gesture, nor following a technique, nor striving for a special state. No, we are returning to our very origin, to that place where our being was whole, before it was divided by words, roles, and expectations. Silence reveals that we are not fragments. We are not simply our thoughts, nor our emotions, nor the stories we tell the world. We are something far more vast, more profound, more serene. In stillness, this vastness becomes visible, not through brilliance, but through simplicity, not through intensity, but through presence. This chapter concludes here, yet silence never truly ends. It remains within us, like an invisible thread binding us to the beginnings of existence. In the next chapter, we shall explore what unfolds when modern man distances himself from silence and begins to fear it. So, take a moment, breathe, and let the silence envelop you. There exists a strange paradox in contemporary life. The more freedom we gain, the more comfort we enjoy, and the more means of communication we have, the more restless we become in the face of silence. Silence, which once was the natural environment of our existence, has transformed into an uncomfortable space, almost threatening. The modern person does not simply enter silence, they fall into it, like into an abyss they do not know how to fill. Noise has become a form of protection, a barrier between us and ourselves. We surround ourselves with sounds, with notifications, with conversations, not because we need them, but because we fear what we might discover in their absence. Silence confronts us with our own thoughts, with our own emotions, with our own questions. And the modern individual accustomed to fleeing forward no longer knows how to stand still, no longer knows how to listen, no longer knows how to just be. The fear of silence is in truth the fear of our inner selves, the fear of the void we sometimes feel within, a void we attempt to cover with activity, with distraction, with noise. But silence is not a void. It is a mirror in which we see ourselves as we truly are, without filters, without masks, without roles. And this encounter for the modern person can indeed be terrifying. Let us take a moment to reflect on this. Fear of silence does not arise out of nowhere. It builds gradually, layer by layer, as the mind learns to identify with the noise. The noise becomes a confirmation of our existence, a testament that we are connected, an anchor that keeps us away from our own depths. When this anchor disappears, The mind feels as if it is losing control. Psychologically, silence activates an ancient mechanism, the need to fill the void. The mind cannot bear unoccupied spaces. It yearns to explain, to analyze, to comment, to transform every moment into a story. When there's nothing to say, a subtle unease arises, as if something is wrong. This unease is in fact the encounter with our unfiltered self, with the emotions we have postponed, with the questions we have not asked, with the truths we have not acknowledged. Silence does not create these things, it simply reveals them. For the modern person, accustomed to defining themselves through activity, silence may seem like a loss of time, a loss of control, a loss of identity. But in reality, silence does not take anything away. It only shows what was already there, hidden beneath the hurried rhythm of life. The fear of silence is, at its core, the fear of truly seeing ourselves. And this encounter, however uncomfortable it may be, is the beginning of a profound transformation. Embrace the stillness. Let it guide you within. Imagine, if you will, a world where silence is a rare gem, tucked away beneath the chaos of modern life. In this realm, every moment is a race, an incessant rush for stimulation, for noise. Picture each space filled with sound, each pause drowned in information, not because we crave it, but because the contemporary world deems silence as a lost opportunity. Social media buzzes, notifications chime, news feeds scroll, creating a backdrop where the absence of stimuli feels almost suspicious. If we don't respond in a heartbeat, we appear indifferent. If we aren't posting incessantly, we feel invisible. And if we disconnect, we risk being cast away from the vibrant pulse of society. Thus, silence transforms into a rarity, even a mark of stigma. The lesson this society imparts is clear. Our worth is tied to our activity. How much we produce, how often we communicate, how visible we remain. In such a culture, silence often masquerades as retreat, as weakness, as a lack of engagement. Yet let us ponder this truth. This aversion to silence is not inherent. It is learned, cultivated, nurtured by a system that fears the pauses. For in those sacred moments of stillness, people begin to think, to feel, to question. A society that thrives on relentless rhythm seeks not incessantly moving, it yearns for souls who continue without pause. Thus, silence emerges as an act of defiance, a gentle rebellion, a reclaiming of our inner sanctum in a world that seeks to fill every crevice. So, let us embrace the quiet, allow it to envelop us. The noise is not merely an external presence, it is a strategy, a form of protection that the mind employs to evade the encounter with its own vulnerabilities. When we are surrounded by sounds, conversations, information, we lose the space to feel what lies within. The noise transforms into a veil, a thick curtain that conceals us from ourselves. For many, silence is uncomfortable, not because it is empty, but because it is full. Full of unexpressed emotions, full of postponed questions, full of truths we have not had the courage to face. The noise covers them. It pushes them into the background. It makes them easier to ignore. When life becomes too intense, when pressure mounts, when inner conflicts arise, the mind instinctively seeks out noise, not to find calm, but to distract itself. to avoid confronting what hurts. Noise is a quick refuge, but it is not a true sanctuary. It is a temporary solution, an emotional anesthesia. It protects us for the moment, yet it distances us from healing. Embrace the silence, for within it lies the path to understanding. Silence is not merely an absence of sound. It is a beacon, a radiant reflector, a light that shines upon the hidden corners of our being, those shadows we've kept locked away. When the noise fades, when conversations dim, when activity comes to a halt, things emerge, things we never wished to see rise to the surface. In this silence, our buried emotions ascend, slowly, like bubbles from the depths of a tranquil lake. Some are gentle, forgotten desires, fragments of joy, warm memories. Others weigh heavier, old sorrows, unspoken fears, regrets we've pushed aside for years. The noise held them beneath the water's surface. Silence gives them the freedom to rise. This is why silence can be so challenging. Not because it is empty, but because it is profoundly honest. In the quiet, we can no longer evade our feelings. We cannot hide what pains us. We cannot flee from what we have postponed. Yet this honesty is not a threat. It is an opportunity, a chance to see clearly what burdens us, what blocks our path, what calls for our attention. Silence does not harm us. It reveals where we are wounded. And this revelation, no matter how uncomfortable, is the very first step toward healing. As the silence settles around us, our minds react almost instantly. A subtle yet powerful impulse arises, urging us to fill that quiet with something, anything at all. A sound, a movement, a thought, an activity. It's as if the silence has opened a door that we are not quite ready to walk through. This impulse is not a flaw, it's a learned survival mechanism. Our minds have been trained for years to seek stimulation, to avoid discomfort, to flee from the unknown. And for the mind, silence is a territory unknown. In the stillness, there are no external markers. There's nothing to react to, no rhythm imposed from the outside. The mind is left alone with its own content, and this can feel overwhelming. So it seeks an escape. It picks up the phone, turns on music, starts planning, analyzing, fidgeting. Not because there's something vital to accomplish, but because it doesn't know how to simply be. It doesn't know how to exist without doing. This impulse to flee from silence is, in truth, the impulse to avoid meeting oneself. It's an automatic reaction, a subtle defense against the depths within. Embrace the stillness and allow yourself to sit with it. Imagine, if you will, that noise is not merely a distraction. It is a veil, a thick blanket under which we hide truths we are not yet ready to face. In the swift rhythm of modern life, noise becomes a comforting ally. It shields us from uncomfortable questions, from unprocessed emotions, from desires we have ignored for far too long. Now picture this. When we step into silence, this comforting blanket begins to lift. Not abruptly, not violently, but gently, like a mist that recedes, revealing clear outlines in the haze. We start to see what has been there all along, hidden in the shadows by the noise. The hidden truths, my friend, are not always dramatic. Sometimes they are simple, the exhaustion we have yet to acknowledge, the need for rest, the yearning for meaning, the desire for authenticity. At other times they run deeper, a relationship that no longer nourishes us, a life direction that no longer resonates, a part of ourselves we have neglected. Noise assists us in avoiding these truths. Silence, however, reveals them not to scare us, but to set us free. For the truth, no matter how heavy it may seem, is always lighter than the burden of avoidance. Breathe in this understanding. Let it settle within you. In the clamour of life, our identities shatter into fragments. We construct our roles, moulding ourselves to fit the expectations that surround us. We shape our beings into what we believe the world desires. It's a relentless performance, a continuous showcase, an ongoing justification of our existence. Yet, in the embrace of silence, these layers begin to peel away. Silence does not inquire about who we are. It does not demand explanations or require proof of our worth. It simply reveals what remains when all the roles fade away. When we cease to be the colleague, the friend, the partner, the professional, and we are left with just the essence of our being, breathing in this very moment. For many, this confrontation with silence can be daunting, not because our true identity is frightening, but because it remains shrouded in the unknown. We've spent so long wrapped in our roles that we've forgotten who we truly are without them. Silence confronts us with this amnesia, showing us just how far we've drifted from our authentic selves. But simultaneously, silence offers a precious opportunity, the chance to reconnect with who we really are. Not the facade we present to the world, but the essence we have overlooked. A simple essence, calm and profound. Embrace this moment and allow yourself to rediscover the depth of your true self. Anxiety does not emerge from silence. It arises from our resistance to that silence. From the inner struggle between the longing for peace and the fear of what that peace might reveal. It is the tension between two opposing forces, the need to rest and the impulse to flee. When we enter silence, our minds begin to seek anchors. They search for something familiar, something to cling to. But silence does not provide those anchors. It does not offer direction. It does not give explanations. And this absence can be interpreted by the mind as danger. Thus anxiety arises as a reaction to the unknown, as a response to the lack of control, as an encounter with our own inner selves. It is not a real threat. It is a false alarm. a protective mechanism that has become unnecessary. Anxiety in silence is, in fact, a sign that something wishes to surface. An unprocessed emotion, an ignored question, a need left unheard. Silence does not create these things, it merely brings them to light. That is why anxiety is not a failure. It is a message, a signal that we have entered an important inner space, a space where healing can begin. As we gently close this chapter, it becomes clear that the fear of silence is not a flaw, not a weakness, not proof of our fragility. It is a natural response of a mind conditioned by the rhythm of modern life, a mind that has learned to feel secure only when busy. Yet silence is not our enemy. It is not a void that swallows us whole, nor an absence that threatens us. Silence is a space, a sacred space, a space where we can breathe, where we can feel, where we can understand what the noise conceals. Reconciliation with silence does not mean forcing it, nor transforming it into a discipline, nor wrestling with our impulses. It means allowing it to simply be, approaching it with tenderness, with patience, with curiosity. When we stop running, when we cease to control, when we no longer interpret quiet as a threat, we begin to discover something profound. Silence supports us. It clarifies us. It grounds us. It brings us back to ourselves. The fear of silence dissolves not through effort, but through understanding. And this understanding opens the path to the next chapter, how we transform silence from an uncomfortable space into a deep ally of our inner life. Embrace this journey. Silence heals, not because it does something, but because it does nothing at all. It doesn't intervene, it doesn't force, it doesn't analyze. Silence creates a space where things can return to balance on their own, just like muddy water clears when we stop stirring it. In noise, the mind tightens. In silence, the mind relaxes. This relaxation is not a luxury, it's an essential condition for healing. The body needs quiet to restore itself. Emotions need stillness to express. Thoughts require tranquility to organize. Silence does not heal by absence, but by presence. The presence of a space where we don't need to be anything other than what we are in that moment. No roles, no pressures, no expectations. In stillness, inner tensions begin to dissolve. Not because we conquer them, but because we stop feeding them. In silence, blocked emotions start to flow. Not because we push them, but because we allow them to move. In quiet, the weary mind begins to rest. Not because we control it, but because we no longer burden it. Silence is a space for rebalancing, a space where our being remembers how to heal itself. Breathe deeply and let it be. Silence is not merely a mental experience. It is a physical sensation. Your body feels the stillness even before your mind can grasp it. The moment the noise fades away, the instant the rhythm slows down, when there are no more stimuli demanding your reaction, your nervous system begins to unwind. This relaxation, it's not grand, it's not dramatic. No, it is subtle, slow, almost invisible. Your breath deepens, your shoulders drop, your muscles release. Your heart finds its natural rhythm. Your body remembers how to exist without pressure. Noise keeps your body in a state of alertness. Even when we're unaware, the constant sounds, the rapid information, the messages, the notifications, the conversations, they all send signals to your nervous system that you must be ready, attentive, reactive. But silence halts this flow, not by fighting it, but by absorbing it. In stillness, your body no longer needs to defend itself. It doesn't need to anticipate. It doesn't need to react. This absence of pressure creates a space where accumulated tension can dissolve, not through effort, but through the simple cessation of stimulation. Emotions do not vanish when we ignore them. No, they gather. They build up in layers, in tensions, in inner knots, all waiting for the right moment to be released. The noise keeps them at bay. But silence? Silence brings them right back into our consciousness. In that stillness, emotions begin to stir, not because we summon them, but because they finally have space. Space to reveal themselves, space to be felt, space to express without haste. Sometimes they emerge as a gentle sadness, other times as unease, or perhaps a warmth in the chest or pressure in the stomach. Our bodies speak first, while our minds comprehend only later. Processing emotions is not about analyzing them. It's not about explaining or judging. No, it's about allowing them to flow. Letting them pass through us like waves upon the shore, without resistance, without rush, without fear. Silence creates the conditions for this flow. In stillness, emotions are no longer interrupted. They are not covered up or pushed back. They unfold naturally, leaving behind a newfound clarity, a subtle relief, a feeling of inner space. Silence does not heal emotions through control, but through permissiveness, by finally offering us the place where we can truly feel. In the noise of our lives, we often find ourselves lost in thought, rather than truly present in our bodies. We become entangled in plans, worries, and the relentless pace of a world that demands constant reaction. Our bodies turn into mere vehicles, instruments we use, but seldom listen to. How tragic, really. But silence. Silence transforms this relationship. In stillness, our attention gently descends from the chaos of the mind, sinking into the body. We begin to reconnect, to feel our breath, the weight of our shoulders, the rhythm of our hearts, the hidden tensions, and those spaces that long for rest. Our bodies speak a simple yet profound language, and only in silence can we truly hear it. This reconnection is not a mere technical exercise. It is a return to a forgotten relationship. A relationship where our body is not just an object, but a partner, a guide, a source of wisdom. In quietude, we discover that many of our tensions are not physical, but emotional. Many of our pains are not rooted in the body, but in the mind. And oh, how many of our fatigue does not stem from exertion, but from the weight of internal overwhelm. Let us embrace this journey back to ourselves with compassion and awareness. Intuition does not shout. It does not impose itself. It does not demand attention. It speaks softly in a subtle language that we can only hear when the noise fades away. In our modern lives, intuition sometimes seems absent, not because it does not exist, but because it has nowhere to be heard. Silence creates this space. In the stillness, thoughts settle, emotions clarify, and beneath them emerges a gentle voice, an inner direction, a certainty without arguments. This is intuition, a form of knowledge that does not arise from analysis, but from depth. When we are in silence, we begin to feel the difference between impulse and truth, between fear and clarity, between desire and need. Intuition does not push us, does not pressure us, does not frighten us. It simply shows the way, like a discreet light that does not force, yet does not fade. Decisions made in silence are not hasty decisions. They are not reactions. They are responses. Responses that come from a place deeper than the mind, from a place where we know without explaining, where we feel without justifying. Embrace this stillness and let your intuition guide you. Confusion arises when the mind is too full. Too many thoughts, too many options, too many scenarios, too many voices telling us what we should do. In this inner chaos, direction is lost, not because it isn't there, but because we can no longer hear it. Silence does not bring answers from the outside. It removes the noise that covers them. In quietude, thoughts settle like leaves after a storm. What was tangled becomes clear. What was heavy becomes simple. What was confusing starts to take shape. Inner direction is not a rational decision. It is a sensation, a feeling of fitting, of alignment, of this is how it should be. And this feeling arises only when the mind stops racing, when it no longer tries to control everything, when it no longer seeks solutions in haste. In silence, we begin to feel again what is authentic for us, what draws us in, what brings us peace, what energizes us, what calls to us. These signals are subtle, but they are real, and they become visible only when the noise recedes. Silence doesn't tell us where to go. It helps us recognize the path we already knew yet forgot in the hustle of the world. Imagine, if you will, the expectations we carry within us, a cacophony of internal noise, sometimes louder than any sound that exists outside. They are the voices whispering, urging us to conform, to behave, to feel, to achieve in ways that may not resonate with our true selves. These invisible pressures, persistent yet unseen, gently push us away from our authenticity. Now envision silence. It doesn't fight these voices, nor does it argue or explain. Instead, it simply starves them of fuel. In this serene stillness, expectations lose their grip. They no longer sync with the rhythm of the world, devoid of comparisons and validations. They linger only as faint shadows, dissolving gradually into the ether. In this sacred space, we begin to sense the profound difference between what we truly desire and what we think we should desire, between what is genuinely ours and what we've borrowed from those around us, between our authentic identity and the facade crafted to please others. Silence guides us back to ourselves, to our simple desires, our real needs, our own inner rhythm. In this tranquil moment, we are no longer propelled forward by pressures, but drawn towards our authenticity. Letting go of expectations is not an act of rebellion. No, it is a profound act of sincerity, a gentle reminder of who we truly are, beyond the projections of the world. Embrace this journey back to your essence. In this modern world, time often feels so insufficient. It's as if it's a relentless foe, slipping through our fingers like sand, a constant pressure propelling us forward into the unknown. We find ourselves in this race, unsure of our destination, yet acutely aware that we cannot stop. But silence? Silence transforms this perception. In the embrace of quiet, time ceases to be a chase. It unfolds into a space, a sacred space where we can breathe deeply, feel profoundly, and observe without haste. In this serene stillness, minutes shed their burdens, morphing into openings. They are no longer losses, but instead they bloom into possibilities. When we step into silence, the pace of life slows down. Not because time itself changes, but because we change. We detach from the artificial urgency, from the relentless drive to do more and more, from the misleading belief that our worth is tied to our productivity. In this tranquil moment, we discover that time is not our enemy. No, it stands with us. It supports us, offering a space to feel, to understand, to return to what truly matters. Silence mends our relationship with time, lifting us from the frantic rhythm of the world and guiding us back to our own inner cadence, a rhythm that is slower, gentler, and ultimately more authentic. Imagine the noise, not just within us, but also between us. It lingers in hurried conversations, in impulsive reactions, in our urgent need to respond, and in our fear of leaving a moment of silence between words. Sometimes our relationships drown in this noise, as we fear being truly seen. But silence, silence transforms everything. In the presence of another, it becomes a sanctuary of sincerity, a space where we no longer need to prove ourselves, to impress, to defend. We are simply present. This simplicity, my dear, brings us closer. When we share silence with someone, we begin to feel beyond words the intention, the calm, the vulnerability, the genuine presence. Healing in relationships does not come from endless explanations, but from those moments when two souls meet unmasked, unrole-played, and unhurried. Silence teaches us the art of listening, not just with our ears, but with our entire being. It invites us to perceive what the other feels, rather than just what they say. It encourages us to provide space, not solutions. To be witnesses, not judges. Embrace this journey into the quiet and discover the depths of connection that await. Silence need not be reserved for special moments. It is not a luxury, nor a technique, nor a rigid discipline. Silence is a gentle practice, a daily return to oneself, a pause where we remember who we are beyond the rhythm of the world. We don't need hours on end. Sometimes just a few moments will do. A minute to close our eyes, a deeper breath, a brief stop before responding, a walk without a phone, a morning without rush. Silence slips into these small moments and transforms them into spaces of presence. The practice of silence does not mean eliminating noise, but rather not identifying with it. We must not let it lead us, nor define us. It is about cultivating an inner place we can return to at any time, regardless of how chaotic the world around us may be. Over time, silence becomes a refuge, a space where we calm ourselves, clarify our thoughts, and rebalance. A place where we need not be perfect, but simply present. And this presence, this simplicity, this return to the essential, is one of the most profound forms of healing. Silence does not install itself, dear ones. It does not emerge naturally in a world that urges us to remain ever connected, ever available, always in motion. To truly feel it, we must cultivate practices, intentional moments where we choose to pause, to breathe, to turn inward. The practice of silence is not a rigid technique, nor is it an obligation or a performance exercise. No, it is an invitation to create space in our lives, space where the mind can find stillness, the body can relax, and the soul can speak. In a world filled with noise, silence becomes an act of care, a protective embrace, a reconnection with ourselves, not because we are fleeing from the world, but because we need a place to reunite with who we truly are. These practices do not demand much from us. They do not require time, effort, or special conditions. They simply ask for our willingness to pause for a few moments and allow the stillness to touch us deeply. In the chapters ahead, we will explore gentle, accessible ways for silence to weave itself into the fabric of our daily lives. Not as a temporary refuge, but as a way of being. Let us journey together into this serene space. Breathe in deeply, my friend. Breathing is the simplest form of silence. It requires no complex techniques, no strenuous effort, and no need for control. It is always there, a constant presence, a gentle rhythm within us, accompanying us without demanding anything in return. Let us begin the practice of silent breathing with a pause. Just a moment where we choose to do nothing at all. No rushing, no analyzing, no solving. Just feel the air entering your lungs and the air flowing out. In these moments, the mind begins to settle, not because we force it, but because we give it a point of support. Our breath becomes the anchor, and silence is born in the space between two inhalations. There's no need to breathe correctly, no need to count, no need to change a thing. All we must do is observe. Feel how the air settles in your chest, how your abdomen gently rises, how your body relaxes without us asking it to. Silent breathing is a practice of returning to the body, to the present, to a gentler rhythm. With each conscious breath, the inner noise diminishes and silence becomes natural, almost inevitable. Embrace it. Imagine, if you will, a single minute, just one fleeting minute that may seem trivial, unimportant, too short to make a difference. Yet in the grand tapestry of existence, a minute of conscious silence can weave a thread that transforms your entire day. This practice is beautifully simple. Choose any moment at all, and allow yourself to pause for exactly 1 minute. Not to meditate, not to focus, not to chase an outcome, simply to exist. In this precious minute, you need not perform any grand gesture. You can sit comfortably, stand tall, or even find yourself amidst a flurry of activity. The only thing that truly matters is to retreat inward. Allow the cacophony of thoughts to settle like dust in the air. Let your breath become your guide, your anchor, as your body relaxes effortlessly. At first, your mind may resist, darting away like a startled bird. It will insist that there's no time for this, that the moment isn't right, that there are pressing matters awaiting your attention. But therein lies the profound power of this practice, to choose silence even when it seems utterly impossible. A minute of conscious silence is a gentle pause in the relentless rhythm of the world, a return to your own internal cadence. It is an act of care, a testament to presence, a moment of rebalancing. Embrace it, and let that minute cradle you in its stillness. Between two activities, there is always a space, a brief moment, almost imperceptible, where one action concludes and another has yet to begin. This space is often overlooked, filled automatically with haste, with anticipation, with thoughts about what comes next. But this space can transform into silence, a natural silence, unforced, that emerges like a breath between two waves, a silence that asks for no time, no effort, no special conditions. It asks only for your attention. The practice is simple. When you finish something, a conversation, an email, a task, a walk, a small activity, don't rush straight into the next. Pause for a few moments. Feel the end. Feel the beginning. Feel the space in between. In this space, the mind relaxes, the body settles, the breath deepens, the inner noise diminishes. It's as if you're opening a window through which fresh air enters. The silence between two activities is one of the most accessible forms of presence. It doesn't change your schedule, it doesn't interrupt your rhythm, it doesn't ask for sacrifices. It simply transforms transitions into moments of clarity and calm. Silence does not mean stillness. It does not mean we stand frozen, nor does it mean we stop completely. Silence can manifest even in movement, in a gentle rhythm, in a simple gesture, in a leisurely stroll. Silence in motion is the practice where the body becomes the guide and the mind follows, not the other way around. We do not need to control anything. We do not need to concentrate intensely. We do not need to do it right. All we must do is move slowly and pay attention to what we feel. It could be a short walk. It could be wandering around the house. It could be lifting a cup. It could be any ordinary gesture. But within that gesture, we bring our attention to the body, to the soles touching the earth, to the arms in motion, to the breath that accompanies each step. In these moments, the mind begins to quiet, not because we force it, but because the body's rhythm invites it to slow down. The inner noise diminishes, thoughts settle, and silence emerges as the natural backdrop of movement. Silence in motion is a gentle practice, accessible to anyone, at any time. It is a form of living meditation, where each step becomes a return to oneself. So, take a moment to embrace this journey within. As the evening descends, the world begins to dim. The light retreats, the noise softens, and the rhythm of life slows. This is a natural moment for silence, a sacred pause where both body and mind are ready to release the day. The evening silence is not merely a technique. It is a ritual, a gentle invitation to your being to rest. It could be a minute, 5 minutes, or even just a few breaths before you drift into slumber. The practice begins with a simple stopping. Stop the screens, halt the conversations, and ease the hurried pace. And then, in the stillness that follows, turn your attention inward, to your breath, to your body, to the sensation of being present in this very moment. In this sweet silence, the day starts to detach from you. Thoughts blur like shadows on a dimming canvas. Acknowledge them, then let them dissolve. Tensions melt away. Emotions settle softly. There is no need to analyze, no need to resolve, No need to understand anything. Just allow everything to quiet down. Embrace the stillness and let it cradle you gently into peace. Morning is a fragile territory, a space where the day has yet to take form, where thoughts are still gathering speed, and the world hasn't asked anything of us just yet. It is a moment where silence arrives naturally if we just make space for it. The silence of the morning need not stretch long. It can be just a few fleeting moments after you awaken, before you reach for your phone, before you step into the rhythm of the day. It's a time when your breath is still gentle, when your body remains calm, and your mind is wide open. The practice is simple. Take a few seconds in stillness. Feel your body. Feel your breath. Feel the reality that you are here in a new beginning. There's no need to concentrate, no need to meditate, no need to do anything special. Just be present. In this silence, the day takes on a different direction. It doesn't rush in. It doesn't come with pressure. It doesn't burst forth with noise. It begins with space, with clarity, with a sense of inner settling. Embrace this moment. Nature does not need to be quieted to be silent. Even when the wind stirs, when the leaves rustle, when the birds sing, there exists a profound silence in all that lives. A silence that is not the absence of sound, but rather the absence of pressure. Silence in nature is one of the most powerful forms of rebalancing. Not because nature gives us something, but because it takes something away, our inner noise, the rush, the tension, the repetitive thoughts, the pressure to always be on. When we step into nature, our rhythm shifts. Our breath slows, our bodies relax, and our minds open. We don't need to do anything special. Just be there, in a forest, on a bench, on a quiet path, in a park, anywhere life exists that asks nothing of us. The practice of silence in nature is simple. Walk slowly, listen, observe, feel. Let your gaze rest on the small details. The light filtering through the leaves, the sway of the grass, the shapes of the clouds. In these moments, our inner noise begins to dissolve effortlessly, without analysis, without intention. Just let it be. The digital noise is not just sound. It is an unending stream of information, notifications, images, messages, stimuli that demand our attention, fragmenting our minds, keeping us in a subtle state of alertness. We often don't realize how much it consumes us until we pause. Digital silence is a practice of recovery. It doesn't mean giving up technology, isolating ourselves, or rejecting the modern world. It simply means creating moments where our minds can breathe without being pulled in every direction. The practice is simple. Choose a short interval, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a quarter of an hour, where you turn off your screens, your phone, your laptop, your television. And in this space, do not substitute digital stimulation with other noise. Just sit, breathe, feel. At first, unease may arise. Your mind will search for something to do, something to check, something to consume. But if you stay in this space, even for a little while, you will notice the tension easing, your breath deepening, your body relaxing. Imagine, if you will, that silence is not merely a fleeting moment apart from life. It need not be an isolated practice, something we engage in only when time permits, or when the memory of its necessity stirs within us. No, silence can evolve into a way of living, a way of simply being. Integrating silence into our daily existence does not mean retreating from the world, nor does it mean shunning conversation or isolating ourselves. Rather, it invites us to weave a thread of space into everything we do. A breath of stillness, a moment of presence, a whisper of tranquility nestled between thoughts. Picture this, a brief pause before you respond, a gentle inhalation before embarking on something new, a walk devoid of the buzzing phone, a morning where screens remain untouched, a tranquil evening allowing the day to settle into silence. Over time, these small moments gather, like droplets of rain forming a serene pool. They intertwine, creating a tapestry of calm that supports our entire existence. Silence transforms from a temporary refuge into a steadfast inner sanctuary, always accessible, always present. And remember, integrating silence is not a destination. It is a return to our natural rhythm, to authenticity, to simplicity, to ourselves. Let this journey unfold gently, like a soft breeze guiding you back home. Let's take a moment to reflect on silence. It appears simple, doesn't it? Natural, like a gentle breeze. Something that should come effortlessly. And yet, for many of us, silence can feel difficult. Sometimes even uncomfortable. Not because silence carries a threat, but because the noise has become our comfort zone. We live in a world that teaches us to fill every moment with information, activities, conversations, distractions. This noise gives us a sense of control, of safety, of direction. But when it fades away, we are left with just ourselves. And that can be challenging. Silence brings to the surface things we've hidden beneath the frantic pace of life. Unprocessed thoughts, postponed emotions, unanswered questions, not to frighten us, but to liberate us. Yet the first encounter with these layers can feel uncomfortable. So, remember, silence is not just the absence of sound. It is courage. The courage to sit with yourself without distractions, without masks, without the clamour that drowns everything out. The courage to listen to what you've been avoiding. The courage to meet your inner truth. The difficulty of silence is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. It is a sign that you are finally beginning to draw closer to yourself. Embrace that journey. When we first enter into silence, we do not find peace. No, we find unrest. We find agitation, thoughts multiplying like wildflowers, emotions bubbling to the surface, creating a sense of discomfort that's hard to put into words. It's as if the silence illuminates a room we haven't visited in ages. This initial unrest is not a sign that silence isn't working. Oh no, it's a sign that it's beginning to work. When the noise fades away, we start to hear what was already there, but hidden beneath layers of distraction. Our minds, so accustomed to being busy, don't know how to simply be. They fidget, they search for something to do, they hunt for a stimulus, they look for a reason to escape. This initial unease is normal. It is natural, it is part of the process. It doesn't need to be rejected, it doesn't need to be analyzed, it doesn't need to be controlled, it simply needs to be observed. Let it exist. Allow it to consume itself. In time, this unrest transforms. It becomes gentler, more infrequent, easier to carry, and behind it, true peace begins to emerge. Not a forced silence, but one that arises from acceptance. Breathe in this journey, my friend. Embrace it fully. Imagine a moment of stillness, a profound silence enveloping you. For many, this silence is not frightening in itself. What truly stirs fear is what may emerge from within it. Thoughts long unspoken, emotions that linger like shadows, uncomfortable questions, and truths we've kept at bay. This silence transforms into a space where we can no longer escape what we have hidden beneath the rapid rhythm of life. Now, the fear of introspection, it's a natural response. Not because our inner world is dangerous, but because it is unknown. We are accustomed to looking outward, seeking answers in the world around us, defining ourselves through activity, reaction, and motion. Yet, when we turn our gaze inward, we step into an uncharted territory. In this silence, we lose the power to control what arises. We cannot simply select what feels comfortable. Everything surfaces, fragilities, pains, regrets, unexpressed needs. But behold, these surfacings are not threats. They are invitations, invites to healing, clarity, and authenticity. Fear of introspection does not need to be conquered. Instead, it beckons to be tamed, with gentleness, with patience, with small steps. This silence does not demand that we face everything at once. It only asks us to be willing to look, even if just for a few moments, at what we have evaded. Behind this fear lies one of the greatest freedoms of all, the freedom to truly know yourself. Embrace this journey and let the light of understanding guide. We live in a world of speed, of efficiency, of quick solutions. We are accustomed to the idea that any effort must yield a visible, measurable, rapid result. And when we find ourselves in silence, our minds cling to this same logic. If I stop, I should feel something. If I breathe, I should find calm. If I sit in silence, clarity should emerge. But silence does not operate this way. Silence is not a performance technique. It is not a productivity tool. It is not a method for obtaining something immediately. Silence is a space where things settle in their own rhythm, not in the rhythm we desire. The expectation of immediate results creates tension. Our minds grow impatient, our bodies tense up, and silence transforms into a burden. And when that result does not appear, frustration arises. Yet this frustration does not stem from silence. It comes from waiting. Silence does not offer quick results. It offers slow, profound transformations, invisible at first. It is like a seed sprouting in darkness, without haste, without pressure, without spectacle. When we relinquish our expectations, silence begins to work in truth. Not because it changes, but because we change. Embrace this journey. Breathe deeply and allow the stillness to unfold within you. When the noise fades away, emotions begin to whisper. Not the obvious ones, no, not those we easily recognize, but the deep ones, the ones we've pushed aside, the feelings we haven't had time or courage to truly feel. In the silence, these emotions rise to the surface, sometimes as an unease, other times as a sadness, a tension in the chest, a heaviness in the stomach, a yearning to escape. This is emotional discomfort, a sign that our inner world is beginning to thaw. This discomfort is not a problem, it is a process. Emotions do not come to overwhelm us, they come to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be released. Silence does not create emotions. No, it simply reveals them. When discomfort arises, we do not need to analyze it. We do not need to explain it. We do not need to fix it. We must simply allow it to exist. Feel it gently, without haste, without judgment, without pressure, like a wave that comes and goes. Over time, this discomfort transforms into clarity, into relief, into a deeper, more authentic, more stable form of peace. For silence does not demand that we be strong. It only asks us to be honest. As we seek to enter the silence, our minds rarely cooperate. Instead of peace, we find a relentless stream of thoughts, plans, memories, worries, analyses, imaginary dialogues, scenarios flowing endlessly. It's like a river rushing too quickly to see its water. This hyperactive mind is not a flaw. It's a survival mechanism, trained over years to be alert, to anticipate, to solve, to control. When we suddenly ask it to stop, it doesn't know how. So, it accelerates. That unbroken inner dialogue is not a sign that silence isn't working. No, it reveals the true rhythm of the mind, a rhythm masked by external noise. In silence, this rhythm becomes visible, and sometimes it can feel overwhelming. We don't need to fight our thoughts. We don't need to silence them. All we must do is observe them, like clouds drifting across the sky. Let them come and go without following. With time, the mind learns a different rhythm, a slower, gentler, more settled pace. Not because we force it, but because silence provides a space where it no longer needs to flee. As we enter the realm of silence, It's not just the mind that responds. No, the body reacts too. Sometimes with unease, sometimes with tension, the urge to move, to change position, to do something, anything, just to avoid being still. This physical discomfort, it's completely natural. Our bodies, you see, are accustomed to motion, to responding to the stimuli around us, to dancing with the rhythm of the world. And when we suddenly demand stillness, they become uncertain, restless, searching for balance. Many people mistakenly believe that this discomfort signifies their inability to embrace silence. But here's the truth. Silence does not demand immobility. It doesn't require the perfect posture, nor does it ask for rigidity or an unwavering stance. It simply asks for presence. So, if discomfort arises, allow yourself to shift. Move your shoulders softly, stretch your back, breathe deeper. This is not a violation of silence. Oh no, it's an adaptation, a gentle kindness towards your body. Embrace this dance of presence and let yourself be. Many people enter silence with a picture in their minds, a quiet room, a perfect posture, a calm mind, a state of profound peace. An ideal silence, clean, free of thoughts, free of emotions, free of discomfort. But this image is not silence, it is a fantasy. Real silence is imperfect, sometimes restless, other times murky, often filled with thoughts. Sometimes soothing, at other times challenging. Silence doesn't always look like a successful meditation. Sometimes it appears as a gentle struggle with your own thoughts. Other times it's a heavy breath. Occasionally it's a brief moment of clarity in an ocean of inner noise. Unrealistic expectations create pressure. They lead us to believe that we are not doing well, that we are not enough, that we are not calm enough. But silence doesn't demand perfection. It asks for sincerity. It asks for presence. It requires the willingness to be with what is, not with what it should be. Many people believe that silence equates to passivity, that if you pause, if you don't react instantly, if you don't respond right away, it means you are weak, indecisive, unsure of what you want. But silence is not a lack of action. It is another form of action. Silence is the space in which we choose not to react automatically. It's the moment we refrain from impulsive responses. We don't let ourselves be swept away by fleeting emotions. It's the space where we settle, where we breathe, where we clarify our intentions before taking a step. Passivity is the absence of movement. Silence is the preparation for movement. It is the moment where energy gathers, where thoughts become clear, where direction takes shape. It is not a retreat, but a recalibration. The confusion between silence and passivity arises because we live in a culture of rapid reactions. We are taught that value comes from speed, from immediate responses, from constant action. But sometimes the most powerful action is to pause for a moment and consciously choose what comes next. In a world where rapid communication is the norm, silence can be so easily misinterpreted. It may seem like distance, or even a lack of interest, perhaps even disengagement. And this fear of being perceived as wrong, becomes a real barrier to our peace. We are taught to respond quickly, to be available, to be present in conversations, to fill the void with words. Silence in this context feels like an unusual act. At times it may even come across as suspicious. But remember, silence is not a lack of engagement. It is a deeper form of involvement. When we choose to be silent, we do not withdraw from the relationship. No, we retreat from reaction. We grant ourselves time to feel, to understand, to respond with clarity, not impulsively. This kind of presence is often more authentic than any hasty response. The social pressure rises from the rhythm of the world. But let us not allow that rhythm to dictate our own. Silence does not distance us, it anchors us. It makes us attentive. It empowers us to truly be present when we choose to speak. Embrace the stillness and let it guide you. Silence does not bring clarity through magic. You cannot impose it, force it, or create it out of nothing. Clarity arises because, in stillness, the noise begins to retreat. Thoughts settle, the rhythm calms, and the mind finds space. In our daily lives, the mind often resembles murky water, turbulent, mixed, filled with particles that prevent us from seeing the depths. Silence does not change the water, it merely halts the agitation. And when the movement stops, the water clears on its own. Mental clarity does not mean the absence of thoughts. It means seeing thoughts as they are, without getting caught in them. It means recognizing what is important and what is merely noise. It means feeling the direction without desperately searching for it. In silence, decisions become simpler, not because life becomes easier, but because the mind becomes clearer. A sense of inner order emerges, a settling, a broader perspective. We do not need to force this clarity. We simply need to make space for it. Silence does not provide answers. It offers the space in which answers can arise. Embrace this quiet and let it guide you. Silence is not merely a mental experience. It is a physical sensation. When we enter into stillness, our nervous system begins to reorganize itself. The breath deepens, the heartbeat stabilizes, and the tension in our bodies melts away. It's as if the entire being receives permission to rest. In our daily lives, we often exist in a subtle state of alertness, not necessarily anxious, but always ready, always aware, always connected to stimuli. This continuous state of activation tires our nervous system, often without us even realizing it. But silence creates a pause, a moment where the body can shift from survival mode to regeneration mode. It doesn't take much time. Sometimes just a few minutes are enough for the body to feel it no longer needs to be on guard. As the nervous system calms, emotions become clearer. No longer are there impulsive reactions, no waves that catch us off guard. In silence, emotions settle, they decant, they become understood, not because we analyze them, but because we grant them space. Emotional regulation does not stem from control. No, it arises from stillness, from rhythm, from presence, from this ability to be with ourselves, without pressure, without rush, without noise. Embrace that stillness. In a world overflowing with stimuli, our attention becomes a fragmented tapestry. We leap from one thing to another, from notification to notification, from thought to thought, without truly settling into what we're doing. Our minds grow accustomed to interruptions, and concentration becomes a daunting challenge. But silence, silence transforms this frenetic rhythm, not through force, not through rigid discipline, but simply by offering the mind a sanctuary free from distractions. In this space, attention begins to mend. It gathers, it sharpens, it strengthens. When we embrace silence, even for just a few minutes each day, we discover we can linger longer with a single thought, a single task, a single conversation. Not because we're forcing it, but because our minds are learning once again what continuity feels like. Concentration is not a lost skill, it is merely veiled. Veiled by noise, by haste, by the chaos of multitasking. Silence peels back this layer, allowing our attention to breathe. Over time, it becomes easier to remain present, easier to finish what we start, easier to listen deeply. Silence doesn't just calm us, it sharpens our clarity. So, let's take a moment to embrace that silence, shall we? Silence is, above all, a meeting with yourself. A meeting without masks, without roles, without the pressure to be a certain way. In that stillness, you begin to see yourself more clearly, your needs, your limits, your true desires. This clarity transforms how you relate to yourself. When you spend time in silence, you learn to listen not just to your thoughts, but to your body, your emotions, those subtle intuitions. You recognize what drains you and what nourishes you, what feels good and what consumes your energy. This self-listening becomes a form of care. As your relationship with yourself improves, so does your relationship with others. You become more present, more attentive, capable of listening without interrupting, without projecting, without reacting impulsively. Silence creates space within, and this space reflects outward. Conversations transform into something more authentic. Responses become clearer. Boundaries grow healthier. not because you learn communication techniques, but because you learn to truly be there with yourself and with the other. Let that resonate within you. Creativity does not emerge in noise. It does not arise in haste, nor in pressure, nor in the relentless agitation of the mind. Creativity requires space, a pause, a moment when thoughts detach from the usual rhythm and begin to flow freely. Silence creates this space. In quietude, the mind is no longer occupied reacting to stimuli. It is no longer trapped in conversations, notifications, or streams of information. It starts to play, to explore, to make new connections. Here, creativity is born. Intuition, too, is the voice that speaks the softest. In noise, we do not hear it. In haste, we ignore it. Under pressure, we lose it. But in silence, this voice becomes clear. It does not shout, it does not insist, it does not demand attention. It simply makes itself heard naturally. Silence does not invent creativity. It does not create intuition. It merely unveils them. It brings them to the surface. It offers fertile ground where they can grow effortlessly. Over time, we notice that ideas come more easily, that solutions appear spontaneously, that directions clarify without force. Silence becomes a space of inspiration, a place where the mind and soul work together. Silence is like a gentle light, a light that slowly illuminates a room. It doesn't change the objects around us, it simply makes them easier to see. In the same way, stillness doesn't alter the situations in our lives. It changes the way we perceive them. When we gift ourselves a few moments of silence, our thoughts settle, like leaves after the wind has ceased. Everything becomes clearer, more ordered, easier to understand. We don't force this clarity. It arises naturally when the noise recedes. In quietude, things take shape. We see more clearly what is close and what is far away, what draws us in and what passes us by, what holds weight and what is merely a fleeting shadow. It's as if we are gazing at a map after the fog has lifted. Silence doesn't tell us what to do. It doesn't offer directions. It doesn't give instructions. But it creates a space where we can observe more finely what lies before us. And this clarity allows our next steps to reveal themselves. In this way, silence becomes a subtle support. It doesn't intervene. It doesn't push. It doesn't pull. It simply illuminates. Silence is a place we return to when the world grows too loud. A simple space, calm, always there for us. With each return, something within us strengthens. In stillness, we learn to be with ourselves without haste, without pressure, without expectations. This gentle practice creates a kind of inner stability, a stability that does not waver with the chaos around us. As we come back to silence, we notice we react differently, less in leaps, less in extremes, more from a grounded place, as if we have a center to return to at any moment. This stability transforms into resilience. Not a rigid resistance, but one that is flexible, a capacity to remain present, even when things shift, even when challenges arise, even when the rhythm of life becomes unpredictable. Silence does not make us invulnerable, but it offers a space where we can rediscover ourselves, a space where we can rebalance, a space where we can breathe until everything settles again. Over time, we realize that quiet is not merely a pause, it is support, a point of anchoring, a form of silent strength that accompanies us everywhere. Carry this with you. Silence transforms the way we perceive time. It neither rushes it nor slows it down. It simply makes it more visible. In stillness, we observe how many moments slip past us, unnoticed. We find ourselves caught in rapid rhythms, burdened with tasks, tangled in thoughts, always in motion. Time becomes just a series of things to accomplish. But when we enter silence, the rhythm shifts. Everything settles. Our breath expands. Moment by moment, time deepens. It no longer rushes by, instead it flows through us. In this slower rhythm, we begin to sense more clearly what exhausts us and what nourishes us. We discern what deserves our attention and what can be released, not through analysis, but through simple presence. Silence teaches us not to chase time, not to grip it tightly in our fists, not to treat it like an enemy. In stillness, time becomes a space where we can breathe, where we can live more grounded, more aware, closer to our natural rhythm. As time unfolds, we discover we do not need to keep pace with the world. We need to keep pace with ourselves. Imagine silence. It has a unique way of simplifying our lives. Not by taking things away, not through forced letting go, but through clarity. In stillness, we begin to see that many things we once deemed important are merely noise, just layers piled on top, just habits of the fast-paced world we inhabit. As we sit in silence, we start to feel what truly resonates with us, what brings us peace, what nourishes us, what feels good. The rest begins to fade. It doesn't disappear, but its intensity diminishes. Simplicity does not equate to lack. It means space. Space for breathing. Space for presence. Space for what truly matters. In silence, we discover that we don't need so much to feel whole. Sometimes all it takes is a moment of pause, a careful glance, a deeper breath. Silence reveals the essentials without rushing us, without pushing us, without demanding anything from us, just through its simple presence. Silence draws us closer to life in a way that is simple and deeply natural, Not through explanations, not through theories, but through presence. In quietude, we begin to notice things that might otherwise slip away. The light in a room, a distant sound, our own breath. A small detail suddenly becomes significant. Life gains texture. As we sit in silence, our senses awaken. They don't just intensify, they refine. We see more clearly, hear more finely, feel more deeply, not because we are striving, but because we are no longer distracted. This opening creates a sense of connection with the place we inhabit, with those around us, with the rhythm of the world, with ourselves. Everything feels closer, more alive, more present. Silence does not pull us away from life. It brings us back into it. It places us right in the midst of things, without rush, without tension, without noise. Over time, we discover that stillness is not merely a pause. It is a bridge to a way of living that is more attentive, more warm, more anchored in the moment. The morning, a truly special moment, a time when the world is still waking and the pace is gentle, softer, more open. In this sacred space, silence settles like a warm blanket. There's no need for complexity, my friend. Just pause, just breathe. Find your comfort. It doesn't matter where you are, perhaps on a chair or the edge of your bed or by a window. Choose a place where your body feels at ease. Now close your eyes or let your gaze soften. Inhale slowly, filling your being with calmness. Exhale, releasing all tension. That's all. Don't try to change anything. Don't seek anything. Just be. Just breathe. Just feel this moment. If thoughts arise, let them pass by like birds soaring in the sky. Don't chase them. Don't hold on to them. Just let them drift away. If unease creeps in, that's perfectly fine. If tranquility washes over you, that's also okay. Everything is as it should be. After a minute, or 2 or 3, gently open your eyes. Feel how your body is just a bit more settled. Notice how your breath is a touch more serene. The day begins anew. This is the practice. Simple, brief, gentle, yet powerful enough to transform the tone of your entire day. Imagine the middle of your day swirling with chaos. So many tasks, so many directions, so many demands. In this whirlwind, silence can become a brief yet essential refuge. You don't need a special place. It could be your desk, a bench, a parked car, or a quiet corner. Any space where you can pause for just a moment, free from interruptions. Settle in comfortably. Allow your shoulders to drop. Let your breath flow naturally. Don't control it. Don't force it. Just observe. Close your eyes or let your gaze soften. Inhale gently. Exhale slowly, just like that. Feel your body settling. Notice how tension melts away, little by little, as your mind begins to clear without the need to quiet it. If thoughts arise, let them drift by like small waves reaching the shore before receding. Don't chase them, don't stop them, just let them come and go. Stay here for a minute, or two, or however long feels right. There's no correct duration, only your moment. When you're ready, open your eyes. Feel how the day seems a touch broader, a little more breathable, a bit more settled. This brief pause may not change the world around you, but it can transform how you settle into it. Imagine the evening bringing with it a different kind of light, softer, warmer, just right for letting the day fade away gently. In this moment, silence becomes an invitation to slow down the rhythm of the day and turn inward. Find a cozy spot for yourself. It could be your bed, a comfy chair, a quiet corner of the room. Choose a space where your body feels safe and embraced. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly. Exhale even more slowly. Allow your shoulders to drop. Let your forehead soften. Feel your body settle. Bring to mind the day that has passed. Not to analyze it. Not to judge it. Just to let it rest. Like watching a river flow quietly before you. If images arise, let them drift by. If thoughts bubble up, allow them to dissolve. Hold on to nothing, reject nothing, just observe. Feel how your body grows heavier, warmer, calmer. Notice how your breath becomes a gentle rhythm wrapping around you. Stay here for a few moments. 1 minute, 2, 3, for as long as feels right. When you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Feel the evening welcoming you, how the stillness settles within you, how the day closes softly, without rush or noise. This is the practice. A gentle closing, a smooth transition, a return to yourself. Imagine a silence that doesn't just linger when we stand still. It can accompany us too, even as we move. A natural movement, a familiar rhythm, a gentle pace without haste. Picture yourself strolling through a beloved place, a serene spot where each footstep is a soft whisper. There's no need for anything grand, just allow your walk to flow in its own natural tempo. In this simple stride, a kind of stillness emerges. Not because you seek it, not because you force it, but because the gentle repetition creates an expansive inner space, calm and wide. As you advance, your thoughts settle. They don't vanish, they don't morph, they simply find their place, like leaves drifting softly on the surface of a tranquil pond. Walking transforms into a form of order. A rhythm unfolds. A gentle clarity, effortless, intentional, unpressured. When you come to a halt, that stillness lingers. It remains in your breath, in your gaze, in the way you feel in that very moment. This is silence in motion. Simple, natural, discreet. A tranquility that walks alongside you and stays with you long after the steps have passed. Conversations have their own unique rhythm. Sometimes it flows quickly, like a stream rushing over rocks. Other times it's fragmented, like pieces of a puzzle waiting to fit together. And then there are moments brimming with words that overlap, creating a tapestry of expression. In the midst of this rhythm, silence can emerge as small, precious space, a sanctuary where things settle gently, without haste. It's not a heavy silence, nor is it oppressive. No, it's a silence that opens up room for breath, room for clarity, room for presence. Sometimes during a conversation, a moment arises when words pause on their own, a brief moment, a simple moment, a moment where everything seems to quiet down, like the calm after a storm. If we allow that moment to exist without rushing to fill it, something transforms, the rhythm softens, the tone warms, the meeting becomes more authentic, more real. This brief stillness is not a technical pause, it's not a strategy, it is simply a natural space where the conversation can breathe. In this sacred space, the words that follow seem clearer, simpler, more grounded, not because they are meticulously chosen, but because they flow from a quieter place within. Silence in conversations does not signify withdrawal. It does not imply distance. It represents a moment where the connection between two people deepens, settles more profoundly. A small silence, but oh, so full of meaning. Imagine nature cradling its own unique way of holding silence, a vast silence, an open silence, a silence that asks for nothing at all. When we find ourselves in a natural space, be it grand or modest, something shifts effortlessly. The rhythm slows down, our gaze softens, thoughts settle without a single request. It could be a park, it could be a garden, perhaps just a pathway lined with a few trees. The location matters not. What matters is the ambience. In such realms, silence emerges on its own. It need not be crafted, it need not be sought. It exists already in the way light cascades, in the movement of air, in the simplicity of everything around us. As we pause for a few moments in this frame, without haste, without intention, without expectations, we feel the silence gently approach us in a profoundly natural way, not as an exercise, but as a presence. Nature offers no explanations, it provides no answers, it poses no questions. Yet it creates a space where clarity reigns, where ease flourishes, where everything feels more settled. This silence does not dissolve when we leave that place. It remains with us in the way we see, in the way we step, in the way we embrace the next moment. A simple silence, a natural silence, a silence that flows from nature and settles deep within us. Silence, it doesn't just grace us in special moments. It reveals itself in the ordinary, in those simple gestures, in the actions we perform every day. Sometimes, as we engage in something familiar, the rhythm slows, thoughts settle, and everything feels lighter. This is a kind of tranquility that flows effortlessly into our lives. It may arise when we prepare a meal, when we arrange an object, when we tidy up a corner of our home, or when we indulge in a repetitive task that seems to unfold naturally. In these moments, there's no need for anything extra. No need for techniques or special intentions. Silence emerges organically as an integral part of the gesture itself. As we continue with the activity, everything becomes simpler, clearer, more organized, not because we strive for something, but because the natural rhythm of our actions creates a spaciousness within us, wider and calmer. This discreet tranquility can surface at any time of day, in small things, in the mundane, in actions we perform without much thought. And often, these simple moments transform into the most peaceful intervals of our day, the moment when everything settles, the instant we feel at ease right where we are. A tiny silence, yet so profoundly meaningful. As the evening settles in, there's a unique way it brings peace, a soft peace, a warm peace, a peace that gently ushers in a different rhythm. At this moment of the day, everything seems to slow down. The light shifts, the sounds become sparse, the atmosphere rests in a natural, soothing embrace. Before sleep, silence can transform into a little ritual, not a complicated one, not a strict one, just a simple moment where the day closes with grace. It might be just a few moments in a quiet corner of the room, perhaps near a window, or sitting at the edge of your bed, anywhere you feel comfortable to linger for a while. In this space, words are unnecessary, plans fade away, analysis dissolves. Just a pause where everything finds its place. The day that has passed feels distant now, lighter, rounder, like a story that concludes without haste. In this brief silence, a gentle transition is created, weaving between the day's hustle and the night's calm. A transition that asks for nothing, promises nothing, it simply exists. As the moment draws to a close, the evening feels quieter. The room radiates warmth, and you find yourself just a bit closer to the rest that awaits. Embrace that stillness, carry it with you. The day is filled with small transitions, moving from one place to another, from one activity to the next, shifting from one rhythm to another. These moments may seem insignificant, yet they harbour a space of great value. In such moments, silence can arise naturally, not as an exercise, not as a technique, but as a natural pause between the stages of your day. It can be when you close one door and open another, when you finish a task and begin another, when you move from one space to another. Short moments, yet brimming with potential. In these transitions, everything seems to stop for a moment. A subtle stillness that asks for nothing, explains nothing, changes nothing, just exists. If we allow that moment to be, without rushing it, without filling it, without ignoring it, it becomes a small refuge, a place where the day breathes, where the rhythm settles. This brief silence can manifest anywhere, in a hallway, in an elevator, at a station, in a corner of your home. It doesn't matter where. What matters is your openness to that moment. With time, these transition moments become anchors, points where the day rebalances itself, where we feel once again in our rhythm. So, take a moment now, breathe and recognize the beauty in those small yet profound transitions. Beginnings. They possess a certain energy, don't they? A fresh energy, an open energy, an energy that heralds something new. Whether it's the dawn of a day, the start of a meeting, the initiation of an activity, or the embarkation on a journey, there exists a brief moment, a fleeting moment where everything feels suspended, a moment where things have yet to take shape. In this precious moment, silence can arise so naturally, not as a practice, not as an intention, but as a gentle stillness of the unfolding moment. It is a light silence, a silence that asks for nothing, a silence that prepares the ground for what is to come. Sometimes before we begin something new, there is a second where everything halts. A second where the world seems to breathe differently. A second where we feel we are exactly in the right place. This second is the silence of beginnings. A silence that does not explain. It does not direct. It does not organize. It simply opens space. As we step into the new moment, this silence remains close, like a subtle light, like a calm presence, like a beginning that settles without haste, without noise. Thus beginnings become clearer, softer, more grounded, not because we prepare them, but because we greet them with a moment of stillness. A small stillness, but one that is brimming with promise.